Welcome, it's Domain Dave again, like always, from cheapwinefinder.com with another wine we wrote up on the cheapwinefinder.com website. And today we've got a cheapie. This is a $4.95 California Brut sparkling wine from Aldi. It's called the Aldi's California Heritage Brut sparkling wine, non-vintage. And did I say it was $4.95? Aldi was kind of stagnant last year with hardly any new wines coming out. And then towards the end of the year, they had the specially selected line, which in Europe, there was like 60 different wines from around the world, some of the best growing regions in the world. And about 6 or 7 made it to my local Aldi's. And now we've got the California Heritage, which is kind of like the greatest hits of California. There's a Cabernet Sauvignon, I think a Merlot. Should be a Chardonnay. We did a Pinot Noir recently, and a $4.95 Pinot Noir. It should not be drinkable. Pinot Noir is one of the hardest grapes to grow. It's one of the more difficult grapes to actually produce, to get it right. And it was really drinkable. It wasn't a great Pinot Noir, but it might be the best $4.95 Pinot Noir in the world. So when I saw that they had a bubbly for $4.95, I had high hopes, and I still do after tasting it. Let me take a sip. We'll talk. First of all, very cheap sparkling wines tend to be acid bombs. I guess you pick bubbly so early, the acidity is sky high, and then you're supposedly, after all the different fermentations, you're adding sugar and yeast. You're kind of getting rid of the sour and bringing in the sweet. And this is a Brut wine, but it is surprisingly sweet tasting, which isn't a bad thing. Prosecco, this is made in the same way as Prosecco, the Charmat method. I'll finish my thought on Prosecco. 2/3 of Prosecco sold in Italy is sweet, semi-sweet, not Brut. In the United States, it's more Brut because with the acidity, the semi-sweet, a little bit of sugar, residual sugar, kind of rounds out the fruit flavors in the wine. And a little bit of extra flavor is never a bad thing, especially with inexpensive wines, which you don't get a lot of nuance. You want the flavor. So what is Charmat method that they use Prosecco? Well, they ferment the wine like they always do, except it's a little bit on the sour side when they pick the grapes, a little bit early. And then they do everything to it, age it, whatever they're going to do. Then they add the juice. It's been fermented once to huge vats. I'm not sure how big the vats are here in Italy, and Prosecco, they're huge. But here they put them in pressurized vats. They add a measured amount of sugar and yeast, crank the pressure to desired atmospheres. Champagne's like 6 atmospheres, and Prosecco is like 3 atmospheres. This one has a plastic screw top, which is weird for a sparkling wine. But when I twisted it off, it went pop. And it was like, I was shocked because it gave a satisfying pop for a plastic screw cap. So there is a bit of pressure in the bottle because it made that noise when I got the top off. So they put it in these pressurized vats, crank it up, and it's only a few weeks. Bubbly, like traditional method champagne, is like a year and a half more often. And here it's maybe 2-3 weeks, especially for lower priced ones. I don't know exactly. Like the high priced, the more expensive Proseccos might be in the vat for like 2 months. The lower ones, maybe a couple of weeks. I figure this one's going to be kind of a couple of weeks too. I don't know what grapes are used. I kind of think that Moscato might be in there because it is, for a Brut wine, it is surprisingly has a little bit of sweet flavor, and Moscato is a grape that will give you that sweetness to it, and also had kind of a syrupy texture to it, which could be Moscato too. It could be other things too, but Moscato is a grape that does lend itself to that. But that's nothing wrong with that. It sips really nice. This is the kind of wine or sparkling wine that you're going to add some orange juice to it, or if you have some peach puree or something, just want to add something to it, you're going to make a little bit of a mimosa or something. This is the stuff you make it to, not the good stuff. Not that this is the bad stuff, because at $4.95 it should be the bad stuff, and it's just not. It's just not. It's very drinkable. It's got balanced acidity. The flavors are not complex, but they're likable. That's my third sip. It surprised me. I'm not a Moscato fan. I am a bubbly fan. But I mean, I do like certain Moscato wines, but I tend not to. And I'm shocked, and I'm not shocked, because the Pinot Noir, if they can do a Pinot Noir, then they can definitely do a quick bubbly. So there you go. This is a $4.95 wine from Aldi, the California Heritage Brut sparkling wine. Brut means it's dry, but it's got a little sweetness to it. And that's a welcome sweetness. And if you got a little bit of orange juice, the more the better, because this would make your pancakes and waffles in the morning a little more exciting. So that's it from me, Domain Dave, cheapwinefinder.com. Like us where you like your podcast. It does help. And if you feel like pushing a button, but I think most people do it on the internet and there's no buttons to push. So whatever you do, thank you. And thank you for listening. And this is Dave from Cheap Wine Finder. Keep it cheap. Adios. And I've got more wines coming up in March. I don't think there's any St. Patrick's wines, but I'll see if I can find one. Adios. Bye-bye.